the guru of Squad 00, the assassin like no other. Yes, I'm the best at one of the most notorious YouTube anime and manga community. Don't doubt the infamy, please don't do that. Some do, and they're massively wrong. This video has its origins in no specific really content. It's just there are times where status updates should be addressed, where someone who actually knows what the hell he's talking about, or she in certain situations, brings to light what's going on out here, where we've been, where we're headed, you know, that kind of thing. A bit of a history lesson. Now, people get, oh, history. They don't think, because people be ignorant, because they don't see past the tunnel vision about the importance that it holds, specifically in a community, okay? And specifically the smaller the community is. Now, this is also imperative because it's not common knowledge. This community, and I will discuss that, exploded. And the more it expanded, and it's continuing to expand, I'm glad, but with it comes problems, because it was already a problematic community to begin with. Its foundations were never secure to begin with, so it was a power grab. This is an introduction into the quote-unquote the beefs and the events that have been occurring over the last few years, okay? And when there is a power grab and no established, not an order I should say, but no established rules, no established criteria that is met, then you will be having a blitz, and whoever comes out on top makes the thing the way things are. They set the not the trend, but they set the groundwork for what is to come on in the future, right? But if that ground is shaky, that ground is rocky, if that ground has no firm footing, then those who follow in its footsteps don't have a clear path. The trailblazers got lost and went awry, so to say. So, let's begin with the chronology of this community, and we'll end up with the era, the new era, truly the new era. And you could say, well, you get that from One Piece. Yes, I do get it from One Piece, because it's very applicable, because it's also how history works. There be new eras, and I think this period in which we are now in can be properly called the new era. There will be eras to come, because this community is not ending anytime soon, unless the world ends, unless, you know, people start dying off and things of that nature. Rapture happens, whatever, mind you. Okay. The internet somehow gets shut down, you know, unless one of these significant events occur, catastrophic for certain individuals, but, you know, unless something along those manner occurs, yeah, nothing's going anywhere. Specifically because it's a global, you know, a worldwide affair. Beginning with the Wild West era. We're going back to YouTube. This is all YouTube. It was the Wild West between 05 and 07. What I mean by that? Anything and everything was pretty much able to be, you know, pretty much going down. If you wanted, you could find it. This was the days before Vivo and a bunch of censorship and a bunch of, you know, Google and a bunch of holding. It was good times. Pretty much anything that hit, you know, was different. There was a lot of things that were different, you know. This is just new. You know, YouTube had its origin point, and it was just YouTube. It really was the essence of YouTube. Whatever you put in, people view it, and dudes went viral. I remember the Maya, like, just different stuff. But so did the anime and manga community on the site. Okay, it extended from the anime and manga community on the internet, as well as in, you know, a lot with North America. Let's just put it that way. Okay, because at this time, not everybody was communicating globally, which makes sense. You know, the international game wasn't on lock like that, so it was a lot with the States, right? And a lot of people don't understand the origins of this community. It was not reviews, okay? It was none of that. It was AMVs. AMVs were the first videos, and eventually along came discussion videos, okay? Reviews and all that stuff that we've grown accustomed to were not the original videos. This is fact. In fact, one Bleach video, I remember it was a Bleach AMV because it's Let's Go. I still watch it from time to time, still listen to it. Trick Daddy featuring Lil Jon and Twister. Let's Go. It was a Bleach AMV. I know there was another one, White Eyes. I forget the actual name of it, but with a Dragon Ball AMV. AMVs were huge, and people remember that. That's, you know, stuff we, you know, was into and grew up with. You know, these animes and mangas were still, well, mainly anime at the time, still pretty big, still pretty large, still in people's memory. So this was how it was. Continuing on, from 08 to 09, you can call it the formation period. Okay, formation period. You had people on Skype and whatnot, and while the community still wasn't, you know, it wasn't formed, it was the formless in the void. Individuals started popping up, various ones, some still here, some still not, you know. They were, you know, it was still an extension of the video gaming communities, okay? That's how a lot of us, and you gotta understand, it's like, at the time, the console wars were just coming to an end. You had a new age with the PS3, the Xbox 360, you had the Wii, and you had PC. And so the video gaming community was in flux. It was a changing of the guard, so to say. The battle for supremacy had come to a stalemate. And a lot of stuff was going down in the video gaming community. A lot of people remembered anime and manga, you know, or had just got into manga, were getting increasingly into manga, or anime's popularity, you know, as the people who had grown up with it, specifically the 90s babies, they began to, you know, get more so on the net. So you had people come together, begin to discuss, you know, videos here and there, people, you know, coming together, talking about this stuff. Formation period, you know, it's kind of lost in its, you know, in the void century, mind you, because what really went down there, people don't really remember, okay? It wasn't until 2010, 2011, the emerging period. And this is when the YouTube anime and manga community split off from the video gaming communities, from any comic, cartoon communities, if they existed. I'll get on why the question of if they actually existed in a minute. Although people do videos and discuss these things, of course. At the time, you gotta understand, it was, Dragon Ball was heavily a foundation, okay? The big three is the era of the big three from 09 to 2011, okay? And that being so, for those who don't know the term, the big three, it's One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. At the time, those were the top dogs, specifically over here in the West. And by this point, you started seeing a changing of the guard. I'll talk more in a little bit about what happened when a lot of people hit the internet and started being invested in this community. But yeah, it was emerging and budding. It was a lot of beef started to come across because you had individuals from differing backgrounds, individuals with different perspectives, individuals with different interests, and people were listening to them. Not many people were making videos back in the day. Not many people at all. So you had people started having fan bases, even if there wasn't subscribers, because back then subscribers weren't the big thing. Views weren't, you know, you just had individuals you can go to and listen, like, cool, you know, this is anime and manga, man, like, this is what I'm into, okay, with anime and or manga, you know, at the time it was a lot still with anime, and so you're like, yo, this Yuko, if people wanted that, they're like, alright, cool, people still comment, you know, things kind of got out of hand at times, But it was nothing significant because the community was still small. Okay. Then enter 2012. 2012. It begins the tumultuous period. Yo, the tumultuous period. Now, I know definitely I was involved somewhere. I forget when in 2012 I became involved, specifically in the YouTube anime and manga community. Because I remember seeing some things, I think even back to 2011, right? But nothing significant, you know. I may have been subscribed or a video or two, because I've long been in YouTube. But, yo, people, the tumultuous period is the proper word. Because remember I mentioned about the big three. Now, the era of the big three is over. One Piece was now king, okay? It is without a question. One Piece had taken a dominance, taken supremacy, okay? With that, gave One Piece credibility, gave it a cachet in the community which it didn't have. Because if you go way back, you had plenty of Bleach fans, but Bleach, I will get into what happened to Bleach and what happened to Naruto and whatever. But Naruto was mad heavy, and you had fan bases going at each other's throats, yo. Yo, it was an ugly period. Flame wars almost daily, but you can guarantee anybody say they like anything. You like One Piece at the time? Oh Lord, don't say you like One Piece. You had Naruto coming at you, bah, 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 all that way. Bleach not so much, but Naruto, because people considered it kind of at the time anyway, the worst of the big three. It was like Naruto fans, they were pretty, Bleach fans were, something happened to Bleach, and I will explain what happened to Bleach momentarily. But they were kind of going away, but Naruto fans, you know, they were going at them, but not so heavy. But because of the emergence of One Piece, and because a lot of people remember One Piece, were getting back into One Piece, and everybody was hyped about One Piece, they were going mad heavy. But then, Fairy Tail. When Fairy Tail exploded in popularity, I mean, it was like, whoa, like unbelievable amounts of explosion, right? It exploded in popularity, and it blew a lot of people away. This new thing hit on the scene, and the fairy tards, oh my goodness. They made the Narutos looking like child's play. The fairy tards were all over the place. They were bashing, they were going against everybody. People couldn't stand them. Until an eventful day. Until an event happened. Now, the tumultuous period is marked by 5 main events, and it forever shaped the history of this community. And its long-lasting impacts aren't fully felt even to this day, and I'll explain why. There were five things that happened in this tumultuous period that forever shifted the future of the community, because by this point the community was all but collapsing. Seriously, it all but collapsed. Even though, and I'll explain what happened next with the explosion period, but it all but collapsed. Number one, the Naruto fandom, how it got cooled down, was the unveiling, the unmasking. And y'all know what I'm talking about. The unmasking of Moderate, and who it turned out to be, Uchiha Obito. Yo, the internet about shut down. It really exploded. Yo, I'm talking about non-anime fans. We're talking about this. Yo, if you remember that day, okay, it will be a day that forever marred the history of the anime and manga community. It was just, people were in disbelief. People hated. People were starting to drop Naruto. It's so much happened. That cool down thing. Number two, the Dressrosa arc in One Piece. When the Dressrosa arc hit in One Piece, because you had a lot of people firing shots at Fishman Island, and specifically Punk Hazard, because Punk Hazard, let me tell you, it was definitely not one of the best arcs in One Piece. Most One Piece fans, I can guarantee you, agree with that. And I'm not talking about the anime, I'm talking about the arc itself. It was Oda was not one of Oda's better story writing. Okay, there was a lot of flaws in that arc. But You know, it wasn't horrible. It was just not the best arc that Otis made by far. Dressrosa arc though, and instantly going for the head of Heavenly Demon Don Quixote do Flamingo, aka Joe. Never has one character so shaped the history of this community. Never. There's an event that happened later in the next year, 2014. And I'll address in that as well. But y'all should already know Sabo's reveal. Let me just talk about Sabo's reveal. That moment there was one of the top 3 moments. Besides the Obito reveal and the one I'll get to momentarily. But Doflamingo forever shaped this community and put One Piece incredibly, like, its stance is like boom, shut down pretty much all the other fan bases to where they're ridiculous criticism. He's just that kind of character. Number 3, Bleach suffering from the Fullbringer arc. Yo, so many Bleach fans dropped off. It split, it practically shook the entire Bleach fandom. It was worse than the Obito reveal, because at least a lot of people love the Obito reveal. Not a lot of people love the Fullbringer arc. It wasn't until recent months that I heard people liking the Fullbringer arc. People were massively displeased with the Fullbringer arc. Massively. They're just talking about it being absolute trash. And if not for the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, I think the love for Bleach, I'm talking about in the anime and manga community, would be all but irrelevant. I'm being serious. The 4th event, the one that will, and it's one of the top 3 events, the day that will forever be remembered. But it was more so of the month of March 2013. Now, if you know Fairy Tail and you were around, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Chapters 321, 322, and especially chapter 323 will forever go down as one of the most infamous, hated chapters. You had people drop that mug. People saying, yo, I've been dropped. Yo, people were just done. They were done. It was almost like Hiromashi just went and you said, you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna skim off a lot of fat and reset the entire series, because after that point you eventually get the Tartarus arc, which came later and whatever ended recently. But at that point, Fairy Tail was like, the Fairy Tail could be, the Tartarus, they were gone. Everything was so, all that excitement and whatever, all the big timers were pretty much, all but a few were just gone. They said, no, we're done with this series. This series, oh, can't believe what has occurred. Forever be infamous. In the 5th event, the rise of Toriko. Even though Toriko hasn't risen to astronomical proportions, the rise of Toriko helped to stabilize a lot of things. It really did, because not only did it allow for interest once again to Hunter x Hunter and to plenty of other series that people talk about, but Toriko, it was one of those that while it was pushed, its popularity hasn't skyrocketed in Japan, but it just goes to show that the other guy can come up in here, and it's not the big publicized popular names that deserve credibility. You also had Magi learning from Magic, Shingeki no Kyojin came along, and you know, several of the series. But Toriko helped to you know, it was a beautiful alternative, to say the least. Now, the period that follows, it kind of overlaps, as does often in history with periods, okay? It was the explosion period. From, let's just say, 20, pretty much I ended the tumultuous period or era at, you know, March 2013. Well, the explosion period carries over from 2012 to the end of 2013. Okay? And what happened during the explosion period, it makes perfect sense. Everybody, so many people started joining. So many people who had no clue of the history of the community. So that added in a bunch of problems. And not only that, you had everybody and mama started making, well, not everybody and brother and sister, I should say, started making videos. You had people who had no clue of how to review, start reviewing. And I'm not saying that there aren't different styles. I'm not saying that there aren't different tastes. I'm talking about legitimate people who didn't know what they were talking about. They were talking out their asses. I'm keeping it real, okay? So when that occurred, it, brought more instability into this community, okay? And that's what I'm going to keep it short. The explosion period brought forth a lot of stuff, and it brought up some old stuff once again. Now, we enter 2014, which should have been the start of a new era, okay? After the explosion era, new era. Instead, what ends up happening, it was the pre-war era. Now, the pre-war period, I should say, and that lasted until April 2014. Okay. What? Hold on. Man, I'm busy. Anyways. I'm busy. I'm busy. Anyways. Sorry. Anyway. Life. Regardless. So the pre-war period. Okay. I predicted, just saying, I predicted in April 2013 about what would occur if things didn't, get fixed. If maturity didn't come into place, if this and that didn't happen. Well, we entered 2014. And the very things I talk about that should have happened didn't. People love the way, people are like, yeah, let's promote this. Not knowing that rules were not set. And what happens in April 2014? You have the Forever World, and it didn't enter the war, the war, and YouTube anime and manga community war. It was a legitimate war. It lasted about 3 months or so. Okay, 3 to 4 months, depending on where you put the criteria cutoff. Because there was no clear conclusion. It just kind of faded, which was good, so to say. Which because people started following things I once again talked about, and I did some reporting during that period, whatever. But began with long boiling, sides festered out, and fan bases started going at each other. Fan bases of now reviewers, fan bases of the big time, the Yonko of the community. Have whatever mind you, right? Except for the Yonko that is Shanks, sorry, 7H. But for Never World versus King of Lightning, then you had the co-provider King Ace, you had New Senpai getting in there, you had Double Four, of course, getting in there, you had different individuals. I know Anime Super Dude trying to talk diplomacy, you had Very Dudes trying to talk this and that, and it was a bunch of things. Then eventually came the Gems Nerd Nation whole ordeal, scandal, whatever nonsense, whatever, mind you. And so the community, what happened, it was almost inevitable, because certain events occurred and it would not reverse, and people wouldn't back down. And when people don't back down and diplomacy is no longer there, you have war. It faded out, and then the post-war period, you had people, starting to realize what it is and what it ain't. Starting to see that we can't continue like this. We don't want it to be the video gaming communities. We don't want that chaotic situation. We don't want that. So, people's like, alright, I'm gonna leave you alone. It is what it is for now. Alliances got reformed, because alliances have been broken, so new alliances formed, new groups. Some groups had already formed. Things were, beginning to reforge themselves. Now we're here in 2015. After all that listing of what went down, the foundations and all that other necessary pieces of information. It's about a decade later, okay? Well, in 2015, this officially is the new era. Where do we head from here? Who knows? What will occur? Some of the same stuff. But a lot of people, have come and gone. Some people lasted. Some people are no longer here for various reasons. Some cases of cyberbullying, like Emily Blueware, aka Emily Sugarfruit. There was other cases of, you know, this and that, people bringing their own downfalls, and people going bored of it, and this and that. What will become of this community? I'm hoping for variety again. That was one of the foundations, one of the beautiful things during the emerging period is variety. I'm hoping that people get fed up with the foolishness, the BS, the nonsense that occurs, that people will start maturing as people age, that we will no longer accept childish behavior, at least for the most part, that this quote-unquote trolling that is going full-blown out of hand will be chastised and will be dealt with swift and appropriate punishment. I'm hoping that people will give other series a chance, and that they very well deserve. I'm hoping that people will go back to the classics, will get their knowledge game up, will read and watch more, and not stick to the same old. I heard people saying, "Oh, I'm done with anime after Naruto." That kind of foolishness. Get out of here. We don't need that cancerous kind of mentality. Anime and manga is far more than just shonen. It's far more than just fights. Okay, it's far more than just your love for seinen. It's far more than your love for shoujo. It's far more than you love harem and ecchi, or if you're a hentai guy or lady or whatever. It's far more. There's josei, which nobody ever talks about really. There's a bunch of this and that. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily recommend yaoi or anything, or yuri or whatever, but there's plenty of other stuff out there. There's various genres you can discover. There's so much. Don't become such a fanboy of a certain reviewer that you let his own thoughts or her own thoughts completely dissuade you from at least finding out about a series. Not saying necessarily getting everything under the sun, but at least find out about a series, okay? Find out about actual literature. Step outside of anime and manga and read novels, read poetry, read possibly non-fiction, read, so much. This is all literature, watch some older cartoons and stuff. Get your knowledge game up, okay? In this new era, we can no longer accept the old. Out with the old and with the new, but not in this simply phraseology, but on a real legitimacy. New series are being sprung out, and let's stop acting like everything new under the sun is this great, this thing, and end up being massively disappointed. I've seen that time and time again. Let a series play out. Find out if it's legitimate. Hold off on overly promoting, and so setting yourself up for a downfall. In this new era, let us be new. Let us renew a community. Not this whole peace. Look, there is not going to be a peaceful coexistence, but as long as people refuse to understand that there are various ideologies and philosophies, various viewpoints and views, and to be allowed for those who have conflicting ones to actually express in a detailed manner as to why. Not just saying, "Oh, I don't like something." Oh, respect my opinion, but not respect another person's thoughts on the matter. This whole opinion thing has to go. It has to go. You shouldn't have to say, "In my opinion," or "In my honest opinion," "In my humble opinion." Just say what you need to say. Back it up, and we keep it moving. Because when you bring about these opinions, you start to bring your personal feelings and emotions into the matter. And when you start doing that, it brings forth problems. Unless you're having a one-on-one, or you even in a group of friends, even in a one-on-one, any form of relationship, whether it be siblings, whether it be parent-child, whether it be lovers, romantically or whatever else have you, whether it be two friends, it doesn't matter. If you feel, I hold strongly to my opinions, but don't even listen to what the other person has to say, or at least try to understand the other person's perspective, which is even more valid, listening, understanding, then what is going to occur will keep occurring. Hate, and it will bring this community down. Because people will get fed up with it. Especially those who love it the most. Unexpected one to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts. I know this video was lengthy for some of you, but I like to address in full length of what's been and what is now. and what will occur in the future. Possibilities as well as truthfully. Alright, y'all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace.